Welcome back to our San Jose State Dynasty. Last episode, we started our first season with the Spartans and got off to a great 4-2 start to the seaseason, including a perfect 2-0 to start conference play in year 1. We are getting ready to finish out season 1 in this episode with a contract goal of winning 7 games and making a bowl game this year. We also are going to keep our eyes glued to our 2 recruiting battles going on that involve our 2 3-star gem prospects that we are trying to add to our class. We're going to have to keep winning games if we want to sign both of them, so let's get off to a good start in the game against Utah State. Our offense would take the field first today against the Utah State defense. And on paper, the Aggies were a better team, but it wasn't looking like that early on as Floyd Chalk on only the second play of the game would take this all the way to the house. It was now Utah State's turn to try to respond on offense as Bryson Barnes would take a shot deep down the right side, and that would be incomplete as we would force the Aggies to punt. Faced with our first third down of the day, Adam Matthews would drop back to throw, but he would find his tight end. And our sophomore quarterback has been off to a hot start today, and that would continue getting the team down to midfield. Just under a minute and a half to go in the first quarter now, Matthews would find Leland Smith to keep this drive alive. And then on the very next play on play action would go right back to Leland Smith in the end zone for a touchdown. Once again, our defense was going to work as we would force a 3rd and 18, and that play would go for a loss of 2, and once again, Utah State would be punting. Forcing a punt that deep in their territory would give us great starting field position in the second quarter as once again it was Leland Smith, and he was on fire today, already having over 75 yards receiving. This game was very quickly turning into a blowout as we would go up 28-0, and the Aggies offense just couldn't seem to do anything against our defense as this was only their second first down. And I don't mean second first down of the drive, that's their second first down of the entire game as they would pick up their third, and maybe I talked too early. But then on the very next play, it looked like we were going to get a sack, but instead would force a fumble as Gafataga would pick it up, and he only had one man to beat but wouldn't be able to reach the end zone. But we would take full advantage of that opportunity as Adam Matthews would step up in the pocket and would take it in himself for a touchdown. This just wasn't even fair at this point as we'd go up 38-0 at halftime, and it would not take long for Floyd Chalk to extend that lead even more for us at the start of the second half. This was the closest all game that Utah State had gotten near field goal territory as they couldn't convert on third down, and now we're trying for their very first points on the day and would just barely squeak that in. Surprisingly, being up 45-3, Coach Jones still had his starters in the game. I was gonna make sure though this game didn't last much longer as we would absolutely destroy Utah State tonight. Granted, it was against one of the worst defenses in our entire conference, but Adam Matthews looked fantastic through the air today. But Floyd Chalk IV had an even bigger game for us and would be named MWC Offensive Player of the Week. It hurt my heart to say Emmanuel Pitts would officially commit to Stanford and we would lose out on one of our 2 3-star gems. And it was looking like we might lose out on Matthew Gooch as well to in-conference rival Nevada. The following week, it looked like we had lost out on Matthew Gooch as well as he had verbally committed to Nevada. And the only way we had any chance of swaying his decision was by performing amazing in this game that he was visiting for against Hawaii. Not only did we have a chance to try and win back a recruit with this game, but we also had a chance to become bowl eligible. We still had plenty of chances to do that throughout the season, but it was pretty important that we did it as soon as we could as Adam Matthews is going to be picked off. And somebody please explain to me why Hawaii's quarterback is wearing number 20. I don't think I'd get an answer to that question, however, as Hawaii would find the end zone on 3rd and goal. And just like that, we found ourselves down 7-0 early on, and I could tell this game wasn't going to be as easy. We were looking to tie it up, but we're faced with a 3rd down here, and we're going to come up short of it. But thankfully had a straight-on kick for a field goal and would get 3 points on the board. Faced with a 3rd and 10, we now had a chance to get our first defensive stop of the day against Hawaii, giving us an opportunity to take the lead on this drive as Floyd Chalk IV would find some room to run up the left side, down inside the 20, and we would take the lead over the Rainbow Warriors before the end of the first quarter. Things were looking up for us, but the first quarter wasn't even over yet as Tanila Latu would come away with an interception, and that would give us great field position at the start of the second quarter to go up 17-7. Our defense would come up with another 3rd down stop against Hawaii, but now they were keeping their offense on the field on 4th down where we would get a sack. We would be faced with a fourth down and keeping our offense on the field as well, but this time we would pick it up. And that risky decision would pay off for us as Matthews would find Mason Starling for a touchdown. Hawaii wasn't giving up though, as they still had enough time to try to get down the field and score some points here before halftime. But they would need a good amount of yards here on 3rd and 13 if they wanted to find field goal range, as they would take a shot deep to the end zone. And with that incomplete, we would take a knee to head to halftime, where hopefully our visiting recruits were watching this game closely. Our defense would get out to a strong start in the second half, forcing a 3-and-out against the Rainbow Warriors offense. And despite their defense managing to get a stop, we would score 3 points still on this drive. Well, maybe we wouldn't, but it seemed like our kicker thought we still did. But we would still have a 17-point lead over them headed into the start of the fourth quarter. We'd managed to run a lot of time off the clock, but Floyd Chuck wanted another touchdown as he would take this in to seal the game. As even though they'd get another touchdown, there was nothing Hawaii could do. And thanks to Floyd Chuck's fantastic performance today, we would pick up this big-time win. That would land us our first 3-star recruit in Jelani Douglas, as well as 3-star edge Denzel Sharon, but we were not able to win back Matthew Gooch with that performance against Hawaii. While that was a bummer, we had a chance to sign more recruits this week with our next home game against Air Force, with many of them visiting. With that win last week as well, we had officially become bowl eligible in season 1, but we were still looking to get our 7-win goal as we would force a fumble and jump on it. And our defense is getting us off to a great start to this game against Air Force, where we would jump out to an early 7-0 lead over them thanks to that turnover. We had a chance to get our defense off the field again as Air Force would drop back to throw on 3rd and 6, as it would be a check down and wouldn't pick up the first down. But they were gutsy as they would keep the offense on the field here, but we would get the stop. It then wouldn't take long for Floyd Chalk IV to get us down inside the red zone and inside the 10. We're on 1st and goal. Adam Matthews would connect with Leland Smith for our 2nd touchdown of the game. Here at the start of the second quarter, Air Force had finally forced us into a 3rd down, and Adam Matthews would be picked off, as it would be Corey Johnson with the big takeaway for the Falcons. And their offense finally found themselves on our side of the field, but could not convert on their 3rd down. Once again, their offense would stay out for 4th down as we were looking for our 2nd stop of the game. And when will they learn to stop testing our defense on 4th down, as Floyd Chalk has a wide open field in front of him on this screen and will take it in for 6. And we were going to see if we could keep this shutout going in the first half by getting another 3rd down stop, but that wasn't going to happen. The Air Force offense had finally made it down into scoring range for the first time today, but this sack on 2nd down might take them right back out of it. Now faced with a long 3rd and 19, they will have to go to the air as that's incomplete. And if you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. That gave us a minute 20 and all 3 timeouts remaining to try to get our offense down the field and some more points before halftime. But man, it is not going to happen if our receivers are dropping simple passes like that, and that was the wrong receiver. Leland Smith was wide open on the crossing route, and that's who I wanted to throw to, but hit the wrong button. And so that will give Air Force their first points of the night. Adam Matthews now has 2 interceptions on the night, but I'm not going to count that one against him, because that was solely me pressing the wrong button of who I wanted to throw to. We'll still see if we can get down and at least get a field goal on this drive, as Matthews will step up and pick up the 1st down. But it's looking like we probably aren't going to get any points, as he's going to roll out and take this himself once again, as now our last hope is just to throw up a prayer and hope it gets down there, and this might actually work for us. We'll call our last timeout and send out the field goal unit, and that is wide right. Holy Right when I finally think I get a hold of the kicking in this game, clearly I have not, but we'll still head to halftime with a 21-7 lead over Air Force. That was not the greatest of endings to the first half for us, and the second half wasn't off to much better of a start, as this is another interception. But Air Force wouldn't be able to take full advantage of the opportunity, as we'd get the 3rd down stop. Once again, they would leave their offense in on 4th and goal, but once again we'd get the stop on 4th down. They were now 0 for 3 on 4th down attempts, and when are they going to learn to just stop? Our defense has been playing amazing, but we've been having a hard time getting anything going on offense so far, as we were now faced with our own 4th down, and this was going to be really risky going for it, but it would pay off for us as this drive stayed alive and we would cross over midfield. We were down inside the red zone, and Floyd Chalk was just shy of 100 yards on the day, as he'd been absolutely carrying our offense compared to Adam Matthews' 3 interception performance so far. There's a stat for both of them on the board, however, with that touchdown, and our defense would follow it up with a stop on 3rd and 12 here at the start of the 4th quarter. It was time to see if our defense could stay perfect on 4th down stops this game, and it looked like that wouldn't be the case, as I have absolutely no idea how they came down with that reception. The Falcons were moving the ball fast though, and were in the red zone, and even though we had them backed up to a 3rd down here, we knew this was 4 down territory. Sure enough, the offense was still on the field here on 4th down, and we would bring the heat as they would take a shot to the end zone. And now we would take over on downs and try to run out as much clock as we could from the game. Faced with a 3rd and 2, one more 1st down would seal the game for us, as we would pick up another impressive conference game victory here at home, thanks in part to another fantastic performance from Floyd Chalk IV. Not only would that land us 3-star recruit Zach Stepaniak, but we had also reached our year 1 contract goal of 7 wins and making a bowl game. We still had plenty of 3-star recruits on our board we could sign, but 2 recruits I was keeping my eye on was 4-star edge rusher Daryl Booker and 4-star wide receiver Kurt Hicks, who both had us at the top of their lists. Our next game was on the road going up against Nevada, and it was somewhat of a revenge game as they stole 3-star gem prospect Matthew Gooch from us earlier this season, and hopefully we could show him that he made the wrong decision. Nevada would start out with the ball, and on their very first play of the game would pick up a 1st down. And I forgot to mention that Matthew Gooch is on his visit this week with Nevada, so this could be another opportunity for us to try to flip his commitment if we could play really well today against the Wolfpack. Adam Matthews is looking to bounce back after his 3 interception performance last week, as on 3rd and 2, his first pass of the day would be intended for Leland Smith, but he couldn't hold on to it and we would be forced to punt. Our defense would have our back though, as Brandon Vance's pass would be intercepted by Runye Norton, who would take it back for a pick 6. And now nearing the end of the 1st quarter, had a chance to go up 2 possessions over the Wolfpack. Our defense had an opportunity to get a 3rd down stop here at the start of the 2nd quarter as we would force a fumble. And while we weren't able to recover it, we still would force the punt on 4th down. It wouldn't take long for Adam Matthews to get us back down in scoring position as he would take off on 2nd and 2 and run it in for himself. We were looking pretty good, being up 21-0 in the 2nd quarter, but now Nevada was looking to get down the field as Brandon Vance would take off on the ground, crossing the 50, and Vance wouldn't stop there as he would drop back to throw and find Nathaniel Floyd across the middle and take it inside the 15, and only a couple plays later would go right back to Floyd in the end zone for 6. With just under a minute and a half to go, it seemed like we still had plenty of time to try to get down the field and get some points before halftime. And Adam Matthews had been showing off his wheels, helping us get down the field as he would take off once again and would be just short of the end zone. So on 1st and goal, we would hand it off to Floyd Chalk IV for a 2nd touchdown of the game, and our lead was back up to 21 points before half. This half still wasn't over though, as Brandon Vance would take a shot deep to try to get down the field, and Isaiah Rivas would come away with the tip pick, meaning we still had 34 seconds and all 3 timeouts to try to get down the field and into field goal range. We would have to convert this 3rd and 6, however, and we would end up coming up just short, but we would happily head to halftime with a 28-7 lead over Nevada. Things had gone great for us in the 1st half, but this was an absolutely ugly play to start the 2nd half. I have no idea what Adam Matthews was trying to do there, but we would just have to punt the ball now. Nevada's first drive of the 2nd half started off a lot better than ours, but being down by 21 meant they were going to keep their offense on the field here for 4th down. Unlike last game, we were not able to get a 4th down stop here as their offense would stay on the field, but after another 3rd down stop, this time they would send the field goal unit out on 4th down. It was the start of the 4th quarter now, and our only goal this drive was to run off as much clock as possible, and picking up a 1st down on this 3rd and 3 would help us do just that. There wasn't much field left, but one more 1st down should be able to run out the rest of the clock, but we would put the football football on the ground, and it was a sloppy way to end the game, but Nevada couldn't do anything in 39 seconds. Once again, we'd walk away with another conference victory, and unsurprisingly was on the heels of another 100-plus yard game from Floyd Chalk IV. That win put us at the top of the Mountain West Conference standings, only a game ahead, number 25 ranked Boise State. And with only 2 games remaining, if we wanted to make sure we clinched a spot in the conference championship, we had to win out. San Diego State wasn't far behind us in the conference standings near the end of the season, and both of these teams were in a win-out position if they wanted to find their way into the conference championship. Unfortunately for us, we'd gotten off to a rough start, going 3-and-out to start the game, but we had an opportunity to force the Aztecs 3-and-out on their first drive as well, and that was gonna happen. They'd been doing a great job stopping both of our run and our pass game today, and to start this game, we were trading 3-and-out series, as even though they'd take a deep shot here, we would force their offense off the field. This would be the first down any team had picked up the entire game, as we were over halfway through the first quarter, but even then, San Diego State would get a stop, and we wouldn't be able to convert this field goal for points. San Diego State had started putting together an excellent drive of their own, but they were just outside of field goal range, and we were trying to keep it that way. And so we were still tied at 0 apiece here at the start of the second quarter. It wasn't looking like that was going to change anytime soon, as Adam Matthews would get hit by the blitz, and the Aztecs drive would get off to a great start as Jacob Bostic would find his way open down past the 50, making a couple defenders miss. And that would set them up with great field position in the red zone as Seth Adams would find his way open and into the end zone for San Diego State. And they would strike first, taking the first lead of the day. We were looking to answer back before halftime though, as we'd gotten down the field, but Adam Matthews is going to be picked off. But once again, our defense would have our back as Tanila Latu would follow that up with an interception of our own. On the very next play, we would set up a halfback screen to Floyd Chalk IV, and there was absolutely no one in front of him as he would take this to the end zone. But the first half wasn't over just yet, as our defensive line would force a fumble and Justin Stearns would pick it up and take it in 5 yards for a scoop and score. And just like that, we'd head to halftime with a 14-7 lead. It wouldn't take long for the Aztecs to respond though, as Nathan Acevedo would take the wide receiver sweep and with no one in front of him would break this off for a game-tying touchdown. And it looked like our first drive of the second half was going to end in a punt. Maybe not though, because on 4th and inches, Coach Thad Jones was keeping the offense on the field. And we'll see if that risky decision ultimately would pay off here for the Spartans offense, as we would pick up another first down and now found ourselves down inside the 15-yard line looking to score. We would do just that on 2nd and goal with the wide receiver pitch to Leland Smith. And now at the start of the fourth quarter, needed to come up with a 3rd down stop. Our goal this drive was to either put the game away by scoring a touchdown or running off all the clock that we could. And San Diego State was already using up their timeouts before the 2-minute warning. Faced with a 3rd down here, we were able to get the clock under 1.5 minutes, and this field goal would put us up by 10 with under a minute to go. We had already sealed the game with that field goal, but one more stop on 4th down could do so. But there wasn't anything the Aztecs could do, as we would ultimately win this game. And although he started out a bit slow, Adam Matthews had a fantastic performance for us. That win would land us another 3-star recruit in Alex House, and with that win over San Diego State, even if we lost this next game, we had clinched ourselves a spot in the MWC Conference Championship game. But we didn't want to lose this one, because not only could we go undefeated in conference play and had recruits visiting, but this was our biggest rivalry game of the season. I didn't want to jinx it, but if we won this game, we had a chance to get double-digit wins on our first year, but I don't even want to start thinking about how tough it might be next season for us. We have the possibility of losing a lot of our starters into the transfer portal this season, but on the plus side are going to have an opportunity to hopefully make this team even better. We had an opportunity to go up 10-0 early on, but Adam Matthews would throw the ball right back to Fresno State. But you just can't make these things up, as on the very next play, our defense would get the ball right back by forcing a fumble and scoring a touchdown. Fresno State would get down the field at the start of the second quarter, but we would hold them on 3rd. And just hopefully that sack took them out of field goal range, but it looks like it didn't. In less than 2 minutes, we had already found our way back down the field and were inside the 10-yard line, where on 1st and goal, it would be a wide receiver pitch to the right side, and that would result in 6 for us. This was shaping out to be an exciting game, as Fresno State had gotten back down the field and into the end zone. And faced with a short 3rd and 5 now, Fresno State would get the stop. Thanks to that stop, Fresno State was able to get their offense back down the field in field goal range. But with the missed field goal, we would still hold a 7-point lead over them headed into half. We needed to take advantage of this opportunity we had now to extend our lead to 2 possessions over them, where we would do just that on 2nd and goal as Floyd Chalk IV would take this one in. After another 3rd quarter touchdown from Leland Smith, we now had a chance to wrap this game up, and stopping the Bulldogs offense on 4th down would do just that for us as they'd take a shot to the end zone. And pump the brakes, folks, because this game is not done just yet. We could try to kick the 52-yard field goal, but we were keeping the offense out on the field as we'd get the 1st down. And now all we had to do was run out the rest of this clock in the game. The offense would come out in victory formation as we'd take a knee, and it was a good night to be a Spartans fan as we'd close the season out with the victory. That win would land us another 3-star recruit in Tim Session, as well as landing us a spot in the MWC Conference Championship game against number 17 Boise State. We also found ourselves ranked in the top 25 for the first time here in season number 1, but that top 25 ranking wasn't enough to land us 4-star receiver Kurt Hicks as he'd sign with Cal. We were still in a recruiting war for 4-star edge rusher Daryl Booker, but it was looking like we probably wouldn't land him. And I just realized how many edge rushers we had on our board this season, as we officially had 12 of them. There's gonna be a lot of them getting cut in this offseason, I can tell you that. It was time for our first conference championship game, but before that, let's take a look back at this first season with the Spartans. Starting out the year, we had a contract goal of 7 wins, and so far, we have exceeded that with our only losses coming to number 2 Texas and a very close 14-7 loss against Stanford on the road this year. While we obviously aren't going to make the playoffs, and that wasn't one of our goals, we got pretty close as we'd finished the regular season ranked number 24. Sophomore quarterback Adam Matthews was one of the key contributors to our offense, throwing for almost 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns, but we are almost guaranteed to be losing him in this coming offseason to the transfer portal. Another big hit to our offense is Floyd Chalk IV, the main contributor, putting up 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns for us, but he unfortunately is going to be graduating. Leland Smith was our surprise performer on offense, hauling in 70 receptions and 6 touchdowns, outperforming any other receiver by far on offense, and he'll be coming back for his senior season next year. Matthew Coleman, who was supposed to be our go-to number 1 receiver this year, only racked in 18 receptions and 1 touchdown on the year, so Leland Smith definitely is going to be our top target going forward. Defensively, no surprise, it was Jordan Pollard leading the way with 41 solo tackles and 36 assists, 29 tackles for loss, and almost 10 sacks on the season, but unfortunately, another key part of this team will be losing to graduation. Jalen Applett-Williams was our next best defender on our defense, but again, a senior redshirt as he will be graduating at the end of the season, and our defense is going to be taking a huge hit headed into next year. I don't want to dwell on it too much though, because we still have to finish out this season and fight for our first ever conference championship here with the San Jose State Spartans. No neutral site game for this championship as we had home field advantage, but the Broncos were looking to get us off the field quick as we faced a 3rd and 2 here, and even though we'd pick that up, would be faced with another one here as we were currently out of field goal range. And so now Boise State would get their first possession of the game here on offense tonight, but their drive would stall out right around the same place ours did as well. What was going to be the last play of the first quarter here would be a 3rd down for us, and with that incomplete pass would have to settle for a field goal to score first tonight. Boise State now was looking to take their first lead of the day as Matt Lauder had this inside the 10 for the Broncos, and then on 1st and goal on the handoff, they would find their way in for 6. It did not take long at all though for Adam Matthews to get our offense back down into scoring position, where on 1st and goal we would hand it off to Floyd Chalk IV to take the lead back. With less than 20 seconds to go, we were looking to keep Boise State out of field goal range here before the end of the first half, as they would take a deep shot to the end zone, and that's incomplete. And so on 4th and 5, with only 5 seconds left, this would be the last play of the first half, and we would hold the 3-point lead over the Broncos here in our conference championship game. Boise State's offense came out swinging to start the second half as they were looking to tie this game up, and I was hoping that sack could put them out of field goal range, but they were going to miss anyways. We unfortunately were not able to capitalize on that opportunity and take the lead as Boise State was back in our territory, territory, but we had a chance to limit the damage to only a field goal, and we would do just that at the start of the fourth quarter. There is absolutely no way that he just missed that field goal. Thanks to that, we have a chance to run off as much clock as possible now in this game, and all we need to do is keep handing the ball off to Floyd Chalk and picking up these first downs. We hadn't got under 2 minutes yet, and Boise State was already starting to use their timeouts, and at this point in the game, we were in a 4-down territory, but we would pick up the first down. Now at the 2-minute timeout, we faced a 3rd and inches and needed to pick this up, but we would go backwards on that play, facing a 4th down now. We would keep the offense on the field as we would pick it up and more, getting down inside the 5. And now all we had to do was kneel out the clock. And in season number 1, we were MWC Conference champions. I was not expecting to win the conference title in season number 1, but I will not complain in the least bit as it's only up from here. With that win, Floyd Chalk IV set the San Jose State single-season rushing yard record as well, and we had some of our other players winning national awards as well. Jordan Pollard was on an absolute tear for us on defense this season, and it's no surprise that Floyd Chalk IV would come home with the Doak Walker Award. Jordan Pollard would bring home a 3rd trophy this season, and we were looking to bring home a trophy of our own as we got invited to the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl to take on UAB. UAB had gotten out to a hot start in this game as they found their way into the end zone first, and now Adam Matthews and the offense were fighting their way back, trying to get down the field at least into field goal range to try to respond to the Blazers. Now inside the 5, we had a chance to tie this game up before the end of the first quarter, and a defensive stop here at the start of the second would give us an opportunity to take the lead over the Blazers. Less than 2 minutes to go here as Adam Matthews was once again going to try to get us down the field for some last second points before halftime, but our chances were looking pretty slim as we were faced with a 3rd and 19, and he would throw this up to Leland Smith. And with that falling incomplete, our chances of points went out the window. We would have another opportunity though on our first drive of the second half, where on 1st and 10 from the 11, Adam Matthews would find Leland Smith and he would get his way into the end zone. The Blazers offense was marching down the field at the start of the 4th quarter here as they would put the football on the ground, and although we weren't able to recover it, that would still set them up with an improbable 3rd and long as they'd take a shot to the end zone, and with that pass falling incomplete, they would have to settle for only 3 points. We were now trying to run out as much clock as possible, but we were just outside of field goal range, and so converting that 3rd and 4 would be a huge game changer for us as we could keep running the clock. UAB had officially used all their timeouts, but if we wanted to seal this game, we needed a touchdown and would get it right here. And although UAB would tack on one more field goal, their onside kick would be unsuccessful, and we would wrap up a fantastic season 1 with a bowl victory, taking home the win over the Blazers here in Hawaii. It felt fantastic to win a bowl game in our first season as the head coach of the Spartans, and because of that, we had 3 new head coaching offers, but we obviously were going to decline all of them. Our season wasn't done yet, however, as we were getting ready for the off-season now, and headed into it, we currently had the 69th ranked recruiting class in the country. After Clemson defeated Texas Tech in the national championship, it was now time to get into our very first off-season and see if we couldn't improve the team even more headed into season number 2. The first thing on our agenda was players leaving. This was gonna hurt because we had 15 players entering the transfer portal, including projected starters. We wanted Jabari Bates to stay with us as he was gonna be our projected starting halfback next season, but he was not persuaded. Maybe his backup in Lamar Radcliffe would stay, but it's looking like he's not going to either. We couldn't afford to lose many people on our offensive line as we'd get Daenerys DeRosa to stay. And although Matthew Coleman didn't perform amazing for us last season, we still wanted to try to get him to stay, and he would. We would only persuade 3 total prospects to stay with the team, but obviously what hurt us the most was losing Jordan Pollard and Floyd Chalk to graduation. What surprised me was that Adam Matthews was staying here to be our quarterback, as I thought for sure he was going to transfer, and hopefully after maxing out our passing game motivator ability, he'll get even more experience in this offseason. With those upgrades, Thad Jones was now a B+ prestige coach, and it was time to see who we could land in the transfer portal to make up for those 12 players leaving. We needed halfbacks desperately, so we are going after junior Scott Tree Humphrey, as well as a true freshman John Denman. We needed a quarterback, but I didn't want anyone to compete with Adam Matthews, so we would go after true freshman Mike Tulafone Tulifono. And after filling out the rest of our recruiting board with offensive linemen, linebackers, and secondary on the defense, we came to a total of 34 target players. We finally would start landing some more recruits, but unfortunately could not schedule any more visits for this week as we were maxed out, and that's probably gonna hurt us. It was the final week of the transfer portal, so time to see how many recruits we would get, and man did we get a lot, including the 3-star halfback Scottree Humphrey I wanted, the potential freshman running back John Denman who will take over for him eventually, as well as our potential starter of the future Mike Tulifono at the quarterback position after Adam Matthews leaves. It was not a bad recruiting class at all for us, as I will take the 56th ranked best class in the country for season number 1. It was time for training results, and we saw Adam Matthews jump up to an 87 overall, and we might have a potential quarterback battle between Tama Amasone and Mike Tulifono, who we just brought in later in this series. Scottree Humphrey, who we brought into the transfer portal, was an 84 overall and was going to be our starter, with Matthew Coleman returning as our receiver number 1 at an 81 overall, and Leland Smith right behind him at a 79 overall. That would now bring us to the start of the preseason for season number 2 in this dynasty, where our team had jumped up in rankings from 69 overall to now a 71 overall. Next episode, we will preview our team and get ready for season number 2 as we'll play through the first half of it, and hopefully with an improved team, we can have an even better season in number 2 than we did in season number 1.